Okay, so meditation practices.
Great. So we're going to do 4 different practices, totally different. The first one is actually going to be a walking meditation. So that's partly to get us moving, but partly also to show us that we can actually do meditation that isn't seated. So the whole traditional seated meditation business does not have to be the way that we meditate. So this is a practice which I love doing in the bush, particularly, or on the beach. And it's all about keeping, it's sort of also a mindfulness practice, but you can use it as a just defined meditation practice, where you just walk and you keep aware of, for example, the sensations on the soles of the feet, or of the breath going in and out and in and out. And you try to be aware of every single breath or every single footfall. So the practice is about bringing the mind back to whatever it is you've chosen to focus on. And usually either the breath or I personally find the sensations on the soles of the feet the best, because it's grounding. It brings you down to that connection with earth, and it's a focused meditation rather than open. So there's 2 sorts. So there's focused, where you're focusing on a particular thing, like a sensation or a chant. And then there's open, where you're sort of more of an open awareness. And for me, the breath feels more like an open awareness, because it's not really, you're not doing anything with your mind, you're just aware of the breath. Whereas with the sensations on the feet, you're feeling, you're listening to the feet, you're feeling what's happening with the feet. So I don't know if you agree, but I feel like that's a focus.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Yeah, I would say breath tends to be a lot more of an open practice, because I don't know, I think it's harder to really feel the sensation with breath. So it tends to make it feel a lot more like it's an open practice.
And that's because we're so used to it, because it's happening all the time, every day.
Whether we slip into unconsciousness very quickly or go off on one. So yeah,
exactly.
Physical sensations are good for focus, because they're changing as well. So there's that constant shiftiness, which helps your mind kind of be preoccupied enough.
Yeah. And also then if you walk with bare feet, you don't have to, of course, but if you do walk with bare feet, say it's on the beach, then you've got all the stretch sensations in the feet, you've got the different angles that are happening in the feet, you've got the sand, you've got sometimes it's wet sand, dry sand, water, the wave comes in. There's so many more sensations that you can pick up. And you can extend that to practice on, dirt or pebbles or whatever you like. That really, if you start to really push it a bit further, it's really actually hard not to feel your feet, because it could be a little bit painful or a little bit, ooh. It's like the massage as well. So you're getting multiple levels of a practice. So let's begin. So this is a really good practice to either have as, if you've got a mat or a carpet or a rug that's defined in its place, in its area, or if you've got a wall that you can trail your fingers back and forth, then that's a really good practice. So we'll start just wherever you've got some space, and then we'll just evolve it slightly. So just start with eyes open, but a soft gaze. Try not to take in too much external stimuli, and connect now down to the feet. So feel your feet on the surface of the mat or the floor or the rug, whatever you're standing on, whether you've got shoes on or not, and feel the sensations in the feet. So notice if the feet feel hot or cold, or if maybe the toes feel cold but the rest of it feels warm. Just noticing the sensations. And if you've got socks on, feel the texture of the socks. If you're standing on a rug, maybe it's a little rough, or it's soft, or it's spongy, or if you're standing on your yoga mat, it might be a little bit sticky, or on floorboards, it might be quite hard, or tiles might be cold. And feel the weight of the body pressing down into the feet. And then start to rock a little bit side to side, just changing the pressure on the feet and noticing how that makes you feel, your balance, your stability, And then go backwards and forwards a little bit too. Feeling that shift in the weight. And notice if any thoughts are popping up while you're doing this. Just noticing. It's okay if they are. Just notice and let them go if they do pop up, and come back to the sensations. Now start rolling around in a bit of a circle. So keep the feet in the same spot, but start rolling around in a circle so that you're moving the sensations around the feet. Maybe the ankles are starting to get a bit more involved. Maybe the knees. You can keep the knees soft if you don't want to lock the knees, particularly if you're hypermobile. And then come back to center and find a still point. And see if you can feel yourself stacked. So knees over ankles, hips over knees, back straight and long, shoulders over hips, neck long, chin tucked just a tiny bit, just a little. And then the sensation of a straightness right through the crown of the head up towards the sky. And feel yourself really balanced here. And see if you can come to a place of stillness inside. So this might be for you feeling the breath entering the body. That might bring you to stillness. Or it might be feeling into the heart, into the center of the chest. And see if you can find a little space in between the thoughts. And see how long, just standing here now, you can go before a thought pops in. And that's the practice of presence. Being able to be attentive to something, anything, without thoughts. But of course, thoughts do arise. For example, when is she going to speak again? Has my video frozen? Are we going to actually move soon? Any thought can pop in. And the practice is to let those thoughts go and to come back to the awareness that we've chosen. In this case, it's the sensations and the soles of the feet. So now keeping your awareness on the sensations on the soles of the feet and letting go of any thoughts as they arise without any judgment, even if they're coming a mile an hour. Now begin to walk. You might want to open your eyes just gently so that you don't run into anything. And start to walk as slowly as you like, transferring the weight from one foot to the next and feeling all the sensations in each foot as it falls, as it stretches across the ground. And it doesn't matter how far you go or how fast, it's not the practice. The practice is to simply try to stay aware of the sensations for each footfall. And if a thought pops in, just acknowledge the thought. Maybe thank the thought and say, I'll see you later when I need to hear about you, and come back to the practice. And notice how hard it could be. You might be finding it easy, you might be finding it really challenging, because we don't often do this. This is not part of our Western culture, to be really present, unless we do a lot of meditating. And now if you have a wall or a defined mat or rug, then you may, if you wish, close the eyes and just walk either in that defined space, so you know you're not going to run into anything, or with your fingers trailing along a wall, having some way of knowing that you're going to stop before you get to any ending point. So even if it's a really short section, and just tracing your way around the mat or the rug or along the section of wall with the eyes closed, if that feels comfortable. Only if that feels comfortable. You can certainly do a walking meditation looking. In fact, more traditionally it is done looking, because you do have to look where you're walking, especially if you're in the bush. But it's interesting to notice whether that makes you more present or less present. Or does it bring up fear or anxiety or underlying stress? And now come back to your mat or your cushion or whatever you're sitting on or were sitting on. Come back to a comfortable seat. And make sure you're really comfortable. So you might want to get a cushion if you want to sit cross-legged so that your hips can relax and your legs can relax. Or you can sit kneeling as well on the knees. Or you can sit on a chair, whatever allows you to relax the most. And then if you would like to close the eyes so that you can become more internalized, then that's an easier way to internalize, but only if it feels safe. Otherwise, you can just look down with the eyes softly gazing. And then take a moment to reflect on that practice. And just see if that felt like a useful practice for you, or if that showed you anything about yourself and about your mind and about the busyness. And also reflect on the possibility that that practice might have for you if you were to do it, say, on the beach or in the bush or in the park, on an oval, anywhere that you've got some open space that you can simply walk and stay aware of the sensations. And now we'll let that practice go and we'll come to the second practice tonight. And this is awareness of the breath. So we've been focused on the sensations in the feet. Now we're going to become aware of the breath. We're simply going to follow the breath. And don't be surprised or hard on yourself if you find this really challenging, because it is more of an open awareness, as we talked about before. So for this practice, simply follow the breath. So you can have the eyes closed if that's okay. And then feel the breath entering through the nostrils, traveling down through the throat, into the chest and into the belly. And then as you breathe out, you feel the breath coming out from the belly, out through the chest, out of the throat, and out of the nose. And that's the practice. If the mind wanders, bring it back to the breath. And as you're sitting, if you become aware of discomfort or pain in the body that's distracting you, or noises in the background or movement around you. Simply notice that you're noticing and bring your awareness back to the breath. And then let go of that awareness of the breath. And take a moment to reflect on how this practice has felt. And see if you can get some insight as to whether you need more of a focused meditation, something that really gives you something to do, your mind to do, or if simply of being aware in an open sense of, say, the breath is actually beneficial for you, or if you find that really challenging. And now we'll come to the third practice. And this is again a movement practice. So this is one that I love doing, but it can be quite challenging, again, for another reason. And this is to move intuitively. And I find that this one is something that, for me, didn't happen for years of meditating. And it would take, say, 2 hours of meditating in a practice before I could start. So be kind to yourself. Don't worry if it doesn't sort of flow. But the practice is simply to go into that state of internalization, and then start by breathing and being aware of the breath, and then allow yourself to simply move with the breath, however that feels right to you. So you can do it sitting. You can just start moving sitting, or you can stand as it is, and you can just start by... You might want to have your eyes closed because it's easier to internalize. And you can just close the eyes and just see what you feel like doing. And it's almost like you can give over control to your body. So just then my arms felt like moving up. And I didn't really have a conscious decision to do that. They just started. And then I'm just going to watch my arms. I'm just going to, not with my mind, I'm going to watch them mentally. I'm going to wait till there's some more impulse to do something else. And I'm not going to do anything until there's another impulse. And when the impulse comes, I'm going to follow it. And it might be really slow, or it might be faster. But I'm just going to let my body follow the impulses that it naturally wants to do. And this is apparently how yoga evolved in the first place. Because the yogis were in deep meditation and their bodies just started moving intuitively. And then they found themselves in these interesting positions. And they realized that those interesting positions were doing particular things for them. And they started recording them because they found that they were useful for other people as well. And then they built up a whole stack of poses that are all beneficial for different reasons. And it all came through intuitive movement. So the hard part of the practice here is letting the mind go, or turning the mind off, letting the body decide what to do. And as I said, for me, this took years. So don't be worried if you're not feeling what to do. It's just the practice. Without judgment. Without any expectations of what you do or what you look like. Just letting all that go and letting yourself move. And the beauty of this practice when we become familiar with it is that our body will naturally go into positions that are healing for our body. So our body knows what it needs to do. It's the mind that gets in the way and holds us in positions that are unnatural or aren't beneficial for us. But if we let the body decide what to do and how to move, then we can do our own therapy, essentially. It's like kids. If you see kids sitting, they're never still. They don't sit still on a chair like an adult. They're always moving, they're rolling, they're sitting on the floor, they're upside down. It's because their body is directing where to go. And that's partly why they're not full of pain, because they're naturally stretching and moving the bits they need to move to get that energy flowing and keep it flowing. This is a really good practice to do also if you're swimming, particularly in the sea, in the salt water or salty pool. Because you can be supported by the water and you can just let your body find the shapes it wants to. Notice if your mind's starting to slow down, turn off. Notice if you're starting to enjoy just moving and let yourself move any way that you feel to. And then slowly start to come back to stillness. Taking your time. If you're really feeling in the mode that you're getting a lot out of this practice, then take a minute or so to let yourself finish the movement that you're really wanting to do. And then slowly, as you're ready, no hurry at all, come back to your seated position. It's very enjoyable when you really get into it, or it can be. And take a moment now to reflect. So close the eyes if that's comfortable and reflect for a moment on this practice and how that felt for you. Whether you feel like that was a beneficial practice or could be with more time. Whether you found yourself getting into interesting shapes that you've never been in before or don't even do in yoga. And noticing if those shapes came from your mind or from your body. And now we'll move into the fourth and final practice for the workshop tonight. And this will be an Om chant. So we'll kick off our meditation course week.
Do you want the mics on or off?
Oh, well, let's put them on. Yeah, let's hear each other. That's a great idea. Can you unmute everyone?
I've done it, yeah. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Unless you don't want to. Obviously, if you don't want to be unmuted, feel free to keep yourself muted.
Yeah. Yeah. Jenny, have you done any Om chanting before? Sorry, not really?
Not really, not a lot, a little bit.
Okay, so it's very easy practice in that we don't have to remember anything hard. We just have to remember the word Om. So it can be a really good one to focus on because we're chanting the mantra Om. It's really good for calming the nervous system because we've got the long out breath as we sing the sound of Om. It's a very uplifting and energizing practice as well, and it gets us to feel into our body because of the vibration going on in our chest and our abdomen. So you can focus on any part. You can focus simply on saying the Om. You can focus on the sounds of the Om and collectively of the Om that we're all making, or you can focus on the vibration in the body or any of those things. So there's a lot to focus on. We will start off together, but if we get out of sync with each other, that's fine. So in the end, it's actually nice if we can get into a rolling Om where one person will be finishing, but another will be starting and it'll continue. But if there's a silence and a little pause, that's okay too. We just continue in our own time because we'll all have different breath rates. And we'll start off fairly loudly if you wish to. And then we'll get, towards the end, we'll get softer and then we'll do it silently, so internally in the mind for the last little bit of the practice. So if you would like to come to a comfortable seat and then close the eyes, if that's okay, or look down. We'll begin the practice together, but we can just go in our own pace. So we'll start with an in and out breath and then we'll begin with an in breath. So breathing deeply into the belly. Breathing it all out with an open mouth sigh. Releasing expectation, tension, and then big breath into the belly to begin. Starting to get a little bit quieter now. Until it's a whisper and then it's internal. Taking several breaths to get there though. And making the mantra silent inside the mind. And then letting go of the practice of the mantra, but keeping the eyes closed and the body internalized, the mind internalized. And notice sensations in the body. Notice the after effects of the mantra. Maybe you could still feel the vibrations resonating in the body. Notice if it's easier now to keep your awareness in the center of the body. Notice the state of your emotions. How do you feel now? As compared to earlier, before the practices. And bring your awareness to your mind. Notice how the mind feels. Whether it's more busy, less busy, the same. Simply observing without any judgment or expectation. And now reflecting on all four of the practices. Which practices worked for you? Which practices didn't work for you? And why? And then slowly coming back into the world, opening the eyes, slowly bringing in a bit more light, shapes and colours. Maybe stretching a little bit, moving the body again. And just notice how that really brief set of practices have made you feel now. If anyone would like to share anything about how they felt with any of those practices, whether you feel like it's been beneficial or too confronting, or any feeling at all, if you'd like to speak, please feel free.
I like the walking one was nice. Never done that before. So
Yeah.
because I like the exercise, so it's sort of something you can combine with that.
Do you like walking in bare feet at all outside?
I do generally. I mind it, but I don't tend to do it.
So you may find that if you start having bare feet more often outside, particularly if you're just in the garden or on the beach or just walking down the street or around the block, and just really short practices with the feet bare, then it's a very calming and grounding practice that can really anchor you and help to keep you present. So if that practice was beneficial, then I'd recommend that you give it a shot and just see if you can even get outside for 5 minutes a day and just do it. Just keep the feet on the ground and feel what's happening in the feet, and just see how that allows your body to and your mind to just calm down, particularly if you're having a bit of a stressful day. You just go, okay, enough, I'm outside, 5 minutes, just time out basically. Yeah. I personally find that a really, really useful practice. I do that a lot. Yeah.
Even if it's just a part of a walk as well. So if you're doing a longer walk, like if you're going out for a hike or something like that, just allowing it to, maybe you've still got shoes on, but just making sure it's a part of that bigger walk, that you just stop and give yourself 5 minutes of it.
And particularly in water as well. If you can get your feet into water, natural bodies of water, particularly the ocean, that's a really good way of also just bringing your awareness to your feet and letting the tension drain out of you, because water it'll actually drain out of you. And the waves help if you're by the ocean. The waves sort of they can wash things away, that connection, particularly salty water. Salt baths for the same reason. It can help to drain the energy we don't need in our body, tension out of us, like magnesium salt baths, the Epsom salts. That's a really, really good way if you have tension anywhere in your body. Helps to drain that tension away, and that also lets the mind calm down.
And impressive. How about you, Raj?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the intuitive movement and the Om chanting. With both of those, I felt like I could easily block out other thoughts. With the walking meditation, I actually found it, I like being barefoot a lot, and I try and do that as much as I can. But as soon as I closed my eyes, I felt quite uncomfortable. I have to say, I felt really unbalanced, and I felt a little bit challenged by that. Like I felt really insecure as soon as I closed my eyes. So that was quite tough.
Yeah, and that is quite a common response to closing your eyes while you're walking, but it certainly doesn't have to be done with eyes closed. In fact, as I said, it's normally done with the eyes open because you have to watch where you're walking. But the act of just stepping and mindfully putting each foot in front of the other, whether you've got your eyes open or not, is a really good way of keeping your attention focused. And
also, the intuitive movement might be really good for you at the moment as well, as an option if you're finding that when you come to sit down and do your journaling, sometimes if you move a bit before, it just helps move stuff through, so you can actually then let it get out. And the other thing, we've said this in some of the other workshops, but you might not have heard it, is that Brené Brown, when in her study, she says that writing is taking it from your brain through your heart and letting it go, because you're processing it down and through and out. And so, journaling is a really good activity for processing, but sometimes we need to move things through the body, and that intuitive movement can help you move it to then sit down, and then it's amazing how things can flow. So that might be a really good practice for you as well, in terms of, you know, not wanting to exercise but wanting to move your body, as a way of you getting some movement starting to happen. And also it might help you with knowing what movement actually is really supportive for you in terms of your pain management. Because it's amazing how your body will know what's going to really make you feel better, and that might give you an insight as to what classes you should be doing, what pace you should be going at in other classes, and what kind of shapes you might want to modify or push yourself into.
And I found from my own intuitive movement practice is that I couldn't believe how slowly I was moving and how therapeutic it felt. Like the slower I went, the more benefit I got out of it. It was unbelievable. Like it'd be like this pace at times, and then but I'd get myself into like this incredible twist, and I'd just be stuck. I'd be held, well, not stuck, but I'd be wanting to stay like this for, I don't know, 5 minutes. It'd be sort of like yin but yang, because I was like really stretching as much as I possibly could and holding it for ages and ages. But then when I finally body wanted to release, it was like, oh, that feels better.
Yeah.
So I think the body really will it'll push itself when it needs to. If you can let it and be guided by it, it will push it into the really hard poses it needs to be in. Because your body's guiding you, you're not damaging anything. It's therapeutic. It's getting the energy moving.
It's also, it will bring a lot more mindfulness to you doing other classes and other videos, because it will give you that intuitive knowledge of when to manage yourself and adapt stuff in classes, which is really helpful wisdom for you to have for yourself as well. So it's very empowering practice that you can apply in other scenarios, which I think can be really useful as well. So definitely, you know, if you're comfortable with it, I would really encourage it, because, you know, a lot of what we are processing in our experience isn't stuff we can verbalize, but your body can. And it's about letting your body move it through, and just letting go as well, you know, letting go of thinking. You know, so much in class, like one of the biggest things that I see people do is like thinking about the movement. So they move, and it's like the actual quality of the technique is gone, because they're just thinking about the movement as opposed to feeling the movement occur and letting that breath and that natural nervous kind of system play and roll through the body. And that happens when you're intuitive with your movement. You can start to move that into your other classes, and you can start to get that quality in all your movement practices. So then other movement becomes therapeutic, even if it's not necessarily your chosen shape.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. That was really insightful. Definitely be doing more of that.
Great.
Well done, guys. Thank you so much.
Can I just say one more thing? I think with the Om chanting, I find that particularly when you're starting, if you don't do a lot of that, if you do want to do it, I highly recommend doing it with the soundtrack. So doing it with Tibetan monks chanting or something. So you've got that real, that deep resonating vibration going in either earphones or loud, because that really, like, the whole thing goes through you. And even if you're not creating that much sound yourself, you're getting that whole vibration through your whole body at the same time. And I think that really helps to calm the nervous system, and it helps you to relax the breath and do your own longer breathing. And I've found with all mantra singing that I've done, I do a huge amount of it with recordings, and then I can do my own, but I get a huge amount out of listening and just being immersed in that sound. It's like a sound bath, essentially.
Yeah.
And just finding a track that suits you best, and then having that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we'll put in the post, we'll put up some extra links for mantra practices as well, and we'll put in again the link for the folder with the meditation practices that Adele's done for the course. And obviously, if you do want to join the course, I'm sure it's fine for you to hop in a week late. We can add you to the WhatsApp group, but it's just Adele's daily sending a WhatsApp message with a mindfulness practice that you can try and do for the day if you want to add that with the meditation practice. So it's very nice. It's a very sweet group. It's not very chatty, don't worry. There's no little chit chat going on. It's she just tells us to do the practice, and everyone just says how they feel after they've done it. So it's very simple. So if you want to join that as well, let us know. We'll add you in.
Will do. Thank you.
How do we do that? Sorry?
Just tell me.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, you give it a go? Okay, great. I will need your mobile number to add to the... We don't have that already.
I've got Jenny's number. Jenny, are you okay for me to share it with Adele?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. I'll add you before tonight, because tonight I'll post the Om chanting in the audio in the WhatsApp group, and any other further notes. So I'll add you before I send that out. So you'll get the whole week. So starting from tonight. So that's going to be the practice for tomorrow, starting tomorrow.
Right. Okay. Do you have to do it at a certain time?
No, that's up to you.
Oh, okay.
It's up to you when and how you do it. So it's very free. You can commit to doing it every day, or you can just go, oh, whatever, I'll just do it whenever I can, or I'll do it once and I'll see, and then if I like it, I'll do it again. Totally up to you. There's no rules. Yeah. You just, the offering is you can listen to it whenever you like. I recommend daily, but it's up to you. And then if you do it, then you just say day done and how you're feeling or how you felt about it in a very short post. Yeah. There's no...
I've been very naughty. I've missed some of the practices this week, and I've just been like, my own practice.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's okay.
It's not taking notes.
Not a test.
For your own benefit.
In the middle of one of these Deepak Chopra 21-day meditation things, so I'm bang in the middle of that at the moment. So it might be a little bit of crossover. I might be trying to overcommit to different meditation practices, but I would actually love access to like the Om chanting, and that any recommendations to sound recordings like that you really like, be great to
we'll stick them in the post with the video from the workshop today, and also I'll put the link into the WhatsApp group where the Om chant is and the other practices, so that if you want to access it in your own time when you finish the Deepak Chopra, you can do it then.
Great.
I mean, the idea of this group is to try and give you that mixture of resources that are things that we can tap into, like as life is going on, not just us kind of like having a nice, like retreats are always a lovely holiday, but often, it feels like sometimes we put it in a box. And what we wanted to do with this, and the reason why we do the Sundays this way, is to try and give you those extra resources on top of the classes, so that you're building a bit of a different selection of things to choose from to help you with life as it unfolds.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Viv, do you have my number, my German number? Because if not, I'll just email it to you.
If not, if I can't find it, I'll ask you. I'll send you the email with the link, and if I can't find it, I'll let you know.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll do that.
But we don't need your number unless you're going to go into the WhatsApp group with us, though, right?
Yeah, but I'm thinking it might be good to get into the practices.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And then just take whatever you want out of it. Yeah.
What I can with it.
Sure.
No, I've only got your UK number. Okay, I can see that.
Okay,
Yeah. No, it's showing me a 44 number. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, awesome. I'll add you both in.
We'll sort that out and I'll send it over to you.
Thank
you. Thank you so much, guys.
Can we just do the... So Jenny, at the start we did a pause, which is what my kids do at their school. And so we'll do the pause again, but we'll do the closing pause. So that you put your hands together, you close your eyes, and you just say after me, Om Paramat Mane Namah, and then you repeat that. And then at the end, I say iti, which means to close, and you repeat iti, and that's the practice. So just closing the eyes, bring the hands to the heart center, come to stillness. Om Paramat Mane Namah.
Om Paramat Mane Namah.
Iti.
Iti.
That's it. That's the
Playtime! So I mean, it's playtime after school.
Yes. That's right. We're free now. No more. Yes.
Thank you very much. That's great.
Thank you, guys. Tomorrow, shoulders. Push ups.
Yeah. Sounds good. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Have a lovely day, Raj. Have a lovely evening, Jenny. Lovely to see you guys.